Imagine waking up and the world is gone. Not destroyed, just erased. The trees you knew yesterday, buried. The river, frozen solid. The animal tracks you followed every morning, gone beneath meters of snow. Now imagine this isn't for one day, not for two, but for an entire week. No supermarkets, no heaters, no weather app telling you when it's over. Just you, your family, and 7 days of relentless snowfall. Most people think cavemen would simply freeze to death. But that's because we underestimate the most dangerous survival weapon humans ever evolved. Not strength, not speed, the ability to prepare before disaster arrives. Here's what would actually happen. The first snow doesn't scare them. In fact, experienced hunter-gatherers would recognize the signs long before the first flakes touch the ground. Bird migration changes. The air becomes strangely quiet. Clouds grow thicker. Temperatures fall in a pattern they had witnessed dozens of winters before. Unlike us, they didn't need forecasts. Nature was the forecast. And that gave them something priceless: time. Before the storm became impossible to escape, every member of the group had a job. Hunters stopped chasing distant prey. Instead, they focused on bringing home as much meat as possible while animals were still moving. Others collected dry wood. Not a little. Mountains of it. Children gathered grass, moss, bark, and anything that could be burned or used for insulation. Every hour mattered, because once the snow started, the rules of life completely changed. Day 1. The snowfall begins. Visibility drops. Walking becomes slower with every passing hour. The tribe stays close to shelter. Not because they're lazy, because every unnecessary step burns calories. Calories were money. Spend too much, and your body goes bankrupt. Today, most people think food is about comfort. For cavemen, food was time. Every bite represented another hour alive. They carefully rationed meat. Some of it had already been smoked or dried before winter. Fat became even more valuable than muscle, because fat contains more than twice the energy. If you had to choose between lean meat and fatty meat, you chose fat. Every time. As darkness arrived, fire became the center of the universe. Without it, the night could become your last. Day 2. The snow gets deeper. Leaving shelter now becomes dangerous. You aren't just walking through snow. You're walking through uncertainty. One hidden hole, one frozen stream beneath the surface, one twisted ankle, and survival becomes almost impossible. So the group stays inside longer. But staying still doesn't mean doing nothing. Stone tools are repaired. Animal skins are stitched. Weapons are sharpened. Children learn by watching adults. Stories are told, not just for entertainment. Stories carried survival knowledge. Which plants kill? Which valleys flood? Which animals migrate first? Every story was a textbook disguised as a campfire tale. Day 3. The silence becomes unsettling. No birds, no insects, almost no movement outside. Psychologically, this is where many modern people would begin breaking down. We're used to endless stimulation. Phones, music, notifications. Cavemen had something different. Purpose. Every person knew why they existed inside the group. Collect fuel. Watch the fire. Protect children. Repair equipment. Purpose reduces panic. When the brain knows its role, fear becomes easier to manage. That's one reason humans survived environments that should have killed us. Not because individuals were fearless, but because groups stayed organized. Day 4. Food starts looking smaller. The meat pile has shrunk. Everyone notices. Nobody says it. This is where decisions become brutal. Do you eat more today, or stay hungry to survive tomorrow? Modern psychology calls this delayed gratification. Cavemen simply called it survival. The strongest person wasn't the one who could eat the most. It was the one who could stop eating. Self-control wasn't a personality trait, it was life insurance. Day 5. The storm still hasn't stopped. The air inside the shelter becomes smoky. Everything smells like fire, animal hide, and damp earth. Children grow restless. Adults grow quieter. Nobody knows exactly when the snow will end. Uncertainty is exhausting, and uncertainty consumes energy even when you're sitting still. Our ancestors couldn't eliminate uncertainty. They learned to live beside it. That's a lesson many of us still struggle with today. We panic because we don't know what tomorrow looks like. They accepted tomorrow as a mystery and prepared anyway. Day 6. Someone finally ventures outside. Not because they want to, because they have to. The snow reaches above the knees. The landscape is almost unrecognizable. Branches have snapped under the weight. Animal tracks are nearly impossible to find. But then, a tiny clue. A broken twig, a faint footprint, a disturbed patch of snow. Most people would miss it. Experienced hunters wouldn't. Their brains had been trained for years to notice patterns most humans ignore. This wasn't magic, it was attention. Modern life trains us to ignore. Ancient life trained humans to observe. The hunter follows carefully. Every decision matters. Moving too fast wastes energy. Moving too slowly wastes daylight. Eventually, a rabbit. Small, not enough to feed everyone for long, but enough to buy another day. Sometimes survival isn't about solving every problem. It's about solving today's problem. Day 7. The snowfall finally weakens. Sunlight begins reflecting across endless white hills. The world feels unfamiliar, beautiful, but dangerous. The tribe doesn't celebrate yet. Now comes the hardest part. Finding new water sources, locating animals that survived, checking whether neighboring groups are alive, repairing damage, planning for the next storm. Because winter isn't over. One of the biggest myths about cavemen is that they survived because they were stronger than us. They weren't. They got injured. They got scared. They lost family members. They made mistakes. What made them extraordinary wasn't their muscles. It was their mindset. They understood something modern civilization often forgets. Nature doesn't reward intelligence alone. It rewards adaptation. The person who refuses to change disappears. The person who prepares before everyone else survives. The person who works with others outlives the one who insists on doing everything alone. That's why humans became the planet's dominant species. Not because we had the sharpest claws, not because we ran the fastest, but because we could imagine tomorrow before it arrived. Every piece of stored food, every sharpened spear, every fire kept alive through a freezing night was proof of one incredible ability: planning for a future that didn't exist yet. And maybe that's the strangest part. The greatest survival tool our ancestors ever created wasn't the fire in front of them. It was the future they carried inside their minds.